something that I've been thinking a lot about is how I, as my mother's caregiver and just a person that engages with her all the time, I look at myself as the thermostat, right? It's my job to set the temperature because she reacts to everything. Even though she might be nonverbal, she can feel my energy, right? Whether it's good or bad, sad, frustrated, whatever it might be. And then it's also my job as the thermostat to monitor, right, the energy of other people that enter into our space, but also to think about like, how am I carrying and holding the realities of all that's happening in our world today? Like there's just so much that is happening in the background, on top of the fact that I have to be mindful of how I bring that into my relationship with my mom so that I don't, impact her mentally, but then also thinking about like, if I had kids or a partner, like I can just imagine the family caregiver who is literally holding it all, but has to maintain a stable temperature because they're the ones holding it all. My question to you is what's your advice or just insights to help that caregiver who is struggling to maintain a stable thermostat temperature when frankly the world is just kind of crashing out around them?
Absolutely. And I think that I love that analogy because you're right. It's one of the last things to go is that impact of understanding emotion, right? Understanding that frown, that tone of voice, all of that will impact that person. First and foremost, I love that you are a thermometer, and I think acknowledging that, being aware of that and acknowledging that is first and foremost. Once you do, now what, how do you manage that? I mean, I think it's having a conversation with your family and the people that are coming in and out, especially if the care recipient, your loved one, is actually having one of those days that they're super sensitive, right? Or if they're having a bad day as well, where they're really going to be paying attention to that, which can be often, but is communicating that with the people that are coming in and out of your house. Hey, if you're in a bad mood, don't go see mom today or don't see grandma today. Just don't even be in that side of the house. But to your point, you are the thermometer, so you are going to have to gauge it. But I think is, again, communicating that to tell people, if you're not in a space, you're going to have to leave. You know what I mean? Or you're going to not go in that room today. Or if you do, because you're going to pass by grandma or mom, you're going to have to be aware and put a smile on your face, put headphones in and have fun music going on, whatever it is to distract yourself to not, not project that emotion that you're feeling, that negative energy that you're giving off.
Maybe a different way to ask this question is like, the emotional weight of it all is really heavy. And of it all is both caregiving, both being a partner, both being someone who is just a citizen of this country, and recognizing that like it just feels like there's just so much happening around me. Like it's getting heavier and heavier by the day. And so, yeah, my question is just, what advice would you have for someone who just the emotional weight of everything is so heavy, all the while still having to show up emotionally for someone that I'm caring for?
It's so individualized, but the broad stroke is around having that plan. I mean, there's no magic pill. You are in a situation that nobody wants to be in for many reasons. And so how do you prepare yourself for these difficult moments? And again, it's communicating. I mean, you're going to hear me say that because, again, you have to have some form of plan, because if it hasn't happened, it's going to happen. To your point, you're dealing with multiple spokes and you are the center of that wheel. So also here's where the resentment comes in if you're talking family, right? Not necessarily about your loved one with dementia, right? Is how do you create that boundary? This is where the resentment conversation in the very beginning is really helpful, because you allowed someone to cross your boundary. Look, I'm trying to deal with all these different spokes, picking up the kid, whatever it is. I'm going to do 3 today. So you know what? You might have to cook dinner. This is where you create those boundaries and you stick to them, because we teach people how to treat us. So if we have 3 kids that are teenagers and then our partner, your family meeting, this is what's happening. And you keep to those boundaries and you have them help out, even if the help out has nothing to do with the care recipient, right? It has to do with, you're going to have to help the household. You're going to have to take an Uber home from practice today, right? Is creating those boundaries, not in a negative way, but in a, look at, this is a family situation going on. Boundaries.
I like that. Boundaries. I feel that there's a question there of, how do I create boundaries for the reality of being a caregiver when it feels like I can't have boundaries, right? Like, I think that's a thing too. So I would often say that it's actually boundaries that allows you to be able to show up really well as a good caregiver so that people know how to treat you. People also know what not to cross so that you can, show up best in your workplace, show up best for your friends and family, but also show up best for your loved one. But I do think a common question is, I struggle with creating boundaries. How do I do that really well when it comes to caregiving?
I think if you're setting boundaries in other areas and aspects of your life, why is this different? There's no one quick answer, but I think that we're stacking these right through our conversation, Jessica, and these snippets that we're going to continue to provide to people. This is a build on. Let's keep building the blocks, because there is no fast answer. If there was, we wouldn't be having these, people wouldn't be doing this, right? So
Yeah.
there's individual situations. So if we're talking about you're alone, it's just you and your mom, let's talk about those boundaries. You've already set some of those to be the best caregiver you could possibly be because you had to set those. What if you have a partner or spouse at home? What if you have 1 kid or 5 kids in a job? So I think all of those spokes you're going to have to deal with. If you can set those boundaries in one area of your life, you have to figure out, why aren't I able to do it in this particular area?
Oh,
I would suspect some of it is emotional. And some of it is just flat out tactical. So I got that. But again, I think understanding and defining that is the first place you can start. You can't fix something you're not aware of, right? You can say, well, I'm aware that I'm frustrated and I'm aware that they're not helping me. True. 100%. That is a truth, but you haven't peeled the onion back. So if you really want to try to get there, then you're going to have to do that conversation and listen to some of these and really like, yeah, I guess that does resonate with me. Because at the end of the day, knight in shining armor is not going to knock on your door and be there, right? So how do we create that for us the best that we can in the moment? Because again, you were dealt a hand and you're having to manage that hand. So let's manage it. If you're not happy with how it's being managed now, let's figure out ways that you can, even in small increments. And I think that's another thing, is watch your expectations of yourself, of other people, of the person you're caring for. That's a huge one. When I hear the word expectation, I'm like, when you put an expectation on someone, the only place for them to go is down. There are certain things that you should expect to be treated, right? We expect certain things just in human nature, relationships. We should treat each other in certain ways. But when you set that expectation, that could be really difficult. So I think you're kind of setting yourself, other people up, and we don't want to do that. So the small thing, let's take the win. Take the win. Take the win that for the first time I had 5 minutes, and rather than just being frustrated and fuming in those 5 minutes, thinking about how someone should be here helping me, take that 5 minutes to listen to your song. Take 5 minutes to do push-ups, whatever it is. Smell a flower. I don't know. I mean, those seem like very generic, elementary things. And some of it is, but who cares? If that's what makes you happy and even distracts you from the level of frustration and anger and seeing red in those 5 minutes, that's a win.
it's good.